Hello and welcome to the Hooniverse Podcast. This is episode 303. Tonight I am drinking like a little bitch baby. This is tangerine flavored seltzer. I'm your host, Jeff Glucker, and I'm joined by my wonderful co-host, Ron Baugh. How are you doing tonight, sir?
Hey, I'm doing well. It's a fun Thursday night.
Yep. What do you have in that? Well, technically we were supposed to record last night, so we'll pretend it's a Wednesday night.
Sure, it's Wednesday.
Not that it fucking matters. What are you drinking?
The old staple, bullet bourbon.
Perfect. Delicious stuff.
Never fails.
Yeah, no, I've got some in my little liquor stand outside, and one of these days I will join you in a bullet. Tonight, though, keeping it mad classy. I want to roll right into it because I've got some things in the news I want to talk about, and the first bit relates to something we talked about last week, and that was the craziness on Bring a Trailer. There was a vehicle last week we talked about. It was an old Land Cruiser, not that old, FJ80, that went for what's that?
Not as old as us.
Not as old. Yeah. It was an older Land Cruiser that went for what I thought was a large chunk of money. You could see one side of it. I could see another side of it. Now I think there's one that's even crazier. I also think we're going to be divided on this one again. But this one is more in your, I want to say, vehicular wheelhouse, or at least more near and dear to your heart.
Really?
Just the other day, 1987 Buick GNX. Amazing machine. This car was perfect. 1,200 miles, which is insane because you should drive the shit out of that car. It went for $215,000.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's a lot of cheddar.
Yeah, I think that's got to be the first of the 80s, 90s muscle cars to cross the 200,000 barrier. And I think it'll be possibly the only one for at least like next 5-10 years. Like I can't think of anything that combines that rarity, the performance, like domination of the era, and just general badassness. Like there's nothing as cool as a GNX.
So I thought this car basically set the market for GNX prices, and I'm wrong. Back in June at Barrett-Jackson in Las Vegas, there was a GNX that had like 200 miles or something on it.
Okay.
275.
What?
Yeah.
Wow.
I didn't even hear about that car.
I had no idea. I thought we were like 150, 160 range for a Mac.
So
that's crazy.
So forget about the Barrett car for a minute, because there's a little bit of wonkiness associated with Barrett. So remove that bullet point for a second.
Sure.
Prior to these sales, the Hagerty value, this car per Hagerty's valuation tool is over by like 80 to 100 and has essentially reset the market. If you go there, you can watch the chart and see valuations, right. And this would qualify as their number one concourse level, where the chart goes like this.
Right.
I'm off screen. It goes like that, where it climbs right to 200, basically because of this sale. It for some reason it doesn't reflect that auction sale from months prior, but it reflects this.
Was it an after sale, or did it cross the block at that number?
I think it crossed the block. That's a good question. Yeah, that's a good question. But Barrett, like I said, Barrett prices are kind of, it's like an in-person Bring a Trailer, which even though one became before the other.
Yeah.
But so maybe we're on the same page then, because would you say 160?
Yeah, I think 150, 160 is like the max. But I mean, a car's worth what somebody will pay. Like I don't pretend to set market values or kind of diminish sale prices or the people that pay those prices. Like, obviously it's worth it to that individual,
Right.
Maybe they're just some crazy Buick aficionado and enthusiast and have a crazy attachment. Maybe they have a huge collection of Buicks. Like, it's worth what somebody will pay, and things are worth exorbitant amounts to the right person. Like, there's an ass for every seat, and, you just never know. You get lucky sometimes.
I agree with you with the phrase, it's worth what someone will pay for it. That is always true, 100% on board. But I think we're both on the same page that this is a shocking amount for as rad as that car is. It's neither a $215,000 driving experience, nor is it, I think, a good investment at $215,000?
I don't know, man. Like, back in the 90s when Hemi Cudas and such like really took off, like, it was crazy when the first one hit 100,000. Those cars got like, based on rarity and just like, rarity of spec more than anything, those cars got to millions of dollars.
They did.
They did. Was dozens that went for $500,000, more that went, maybe not more, but a nice number that went for $1 million plus, based on this spec, this color, this options package. And like, you don't get that with the GNX because they were pretty much all the same. There was like 570 something like that. 547, yeah. So it's like,
the only reason I know that is because I just wrote an article, so I didn't just know that.
Yeah, I get my numbers.
I'm impressed that you knew 570 , so that's really good.
Close to that. But they weren't a huge performance increase over the Grand National. Right. But they were rare, and they were hard to get a dealer allocation. They weren't even built by Buick. They were built by ASC, and they like were assembled like off site. So it was a total like virtually a homologation special, even though there was no series that are competed. Right. It's I think I'm happy for him, but like you never know. Like that could be the next $500,000 muscle car just based on nostalgia.
I think that the generation buying those cars, and I could be totally wrong here because it could be an in-betweener, where we all saw those $1 million Cudas, a younger generation waiting for the money to be able to afford this stuff, saw those, and we all thought, that's cool. Who would buy, as much as I love Mopar, Hemi Cudas, all that stuff, $1 million Hemi Cuda? Come on, like, what are you talking about?
I mean, those guys bought those cars on spec. They bought them as an investment. Nobody bought a $500,000, $1 million muscle car to drive and enjoy. Like that's
right. And that $1 million Hemi Cuda as an investment, that person bought at the top.
Right.
So that's I mean, that has to be $250,000 for a 1987 Buick.
Malaise era, the worst build quality ever. Like, it was basically Grand National with just like more boost and fender flares. Like, it's like I've driven a Grand National. I'm sure you have too. Like, I
haven't. I never have.
Really, even with a lot of miles, like. Our buddy, Killer Mike, like I actually found a Grand National for him. It's a future project for the two of us that hopefully will be pretty wild. But like, his car that I found at the Pomona swap meet has like 150,000 miles on it, right?
Yeah.
And it's not clapped out. Like it's a very clean car. It's a great basis for a project. It's not an investment quality.
It's the one in the videos, right?
Yeah, it's the same car that's in the Ooh La La video. Like which is a funny story because I had to drive that car. I had 3 different flatbed drivers, tow truck drivers, flake on me that morning. That the car had to be at Universal in Hollywood,
right?
At like 11 o'clock, and I had towing set up. 3 guys, flaked on me, so I had to insure the car in my name on the spot.
Oh.
Jump in it and drive it like bonsai run to Hollywood to make the shoot, and then drive it back. So that was like a total like.
It's kind of rad though.
But I mean,
in hindsight,
it could not be there.
Right.
Like, I had to get there. But anyway, like that car drove decently. Like it's got decent power on boost. Like otherwise, you're just driving like your grandma's Regal, right?
Yeah, because it's a huge turbo, right?
Yeah, super turbo lag. Like power band is like this, but it's hilarious. Like it's like floor it, wait, and then like it shifts and like you stay in boost for 3-4 seconds and that's it. That's all it's got. But it's fun. Like I can see how that would be a thrill in the 80s. Like there was nothing short of a Porsche turbo. There was nothing like that.
Right. And they are. There's a bit of menace to their appearance.
Oh yeah.
Like proper menace.
The black. So many different ways people have. It's like big wheels. Lowered like pro touring style. Like
American forced induction.
Yeah, dude.
Before we were really diving in. Yeah.
But it's not. Like you said, it's not any sort of like real thrilling driving experience.
Like today a Toyota Sienna would roast it, right?
I mean, even the like interior and like controls and like ergonomics and like all the tactile stuff, like it's very pedestrian. It's like, it was special for the time just for the color combo, but like it wasn't like luxurious. It wasn't super sporty. It was just like, Luxo cruiser with boost.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. So at least I feel like we're on the same page then, more so than the Land Cruiser. Just because nearly $250,000 GNX is insane, but who knows? Who knows where the market goes for that?
Sure.
Moving on to something older that I did drive. I had 24 hours of lemons last weekend.
Yes. Sounds like quite an adventure just getting to the starting line.
So it was a typical lemons experience for Team Hooniverse. In that car gets built.
Team Hooniverse.
What's that?
Who is on Team Hooniverse?
So it's
drivers, mechanics.
The person who owns the car and is our main mechanic. He's the co-founder of Hooniverse, my buddy Tim. He's no longer an owner of Hooniverse. Hooniverse is just me now, but we're still friends. It was just he's like, hey, I don't pay attention to this anymore. I can't do it. Just take it. Very amicable. We still want to race lemons together and all that stuff. Really? So he keeps the Ranchero at his house. He wrenches on it. He's actually trying to prepare an identical Mercury. What the hell is the Mercury, like a Comet or something?
Okay, yeah.
To also run for like his wife could have a team as well.
When you say identical, there's not like a Mercury like car truck.
I think there is. I thought it was a Mercury car truck. Hold on, I'm going to Google this. I could be totally wrong here. It could just be a Falcon. Is a Mercury? I'm just going to type in Ranchero.
I mean, Ranchero is
Mercury make a Ranchero. Mercury, not Ford Ranchero. I thought there was a Mercury Ranchero, but yeah, wasn't it called the Meteor?
Could have been. I mean, I've seen Meteors that were, I think, like two-door sedans. But
yeah, they are. I mean, they're. So the Mercury Meteor is like the Ford Falcon, but I want to see if they did. It doesn't say they did a car truck, so maybe I'm making that up.
Well, you didn't say it. I just asked. I was curious. But anyway.
Maybe it's not a car truck. Maybe it's a Falcon Cooper sedan. I forget. Either way, his daily driver is a 64 Falcon. Like he drives that to work. He also has a Super Brodozer Excursion tow vehicle camp brake. And then so the Ranchero, we've had 3 Rancheros and lemons, which is funny because like the other people initially the first one that got wrecked, people were like, you can't be destroying these cars. And we're like, there's a shitload of them on California Craigslist. Also, who cares? And people are like, we don't believe you. And I pulled up a search and I found like 10 in 5 seconds. They're like, okay, have fun with them. We don't give a shit anymore. And the race that we had the bad wreck at, where no one was hurt, it's just potential was there for something worse to happen. Right. That race, there was one, like a nice one in the lot parked across from our garage, like taunting us. And then somebody else was like, oh, I own one that you guys can have for like $500. We're like, there's our next one. Same year, 62. And these Rancheros, for anybody who doesn't know, are Lemon's car. They're not V8s or anything. They're the 250 straight sixes, which is a fairly robust little motor for what it is. And then the cars handle well because we've done the Shelby drop in the front. So it actually, it corners flat. It's a weird thing to drive, and it has a 4-speed top loader. And for this race, we actually jumped from carburetors to, we used the Holly Sniper EFI, which looks like it's really nice. And Holly didn't pay for this, none of that. It looks really nice. Like it has this really satin finish to it. It's sweet looking thing.
Like self-learning?
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's programmable, all that stuff. It's awesome. It's a really cool thing. However, so Tim and his dad got there late Thursday night. I got there Friday afternoon-ish because I probably left here at like 9, and then it's 3 hours to Buttonwillow from South Orange County. And the car was running. They did some practice laps. I didn't get into it because it came in when his dad was driving it, and the engine started to sound a little knocky, like a we're like, oh shit. So we're like,
not an adjective I'd like to hear.
No, a little. So what we decided to do was throw heavier weight oil at it because it just had the bearings replaced, and there was a worry that one of them. Yeah, so we just wanted to fill up the spaces. So we threw something heavy at it, and it was still a little knocky. So they drove like 30-something minutes to an O'Reilly's. they're like, yeah, we can get you 70 weight, which is like drag racing oil.
Okay.
But it won't be here till the morning. So they were there when the shop opened at like 8 a.m., came back, drained the oil, threw the 70 weight in. We're like, okay, let's see what happens. We put I hate to call him our slowest driver, but he's our most conservative driver. However, on the flip side, he's never been like, if he's come in early, it's because either the car died or he was hit. Like, he's not getting in accidents. He's just driving Miss Daisy out there, which is, sometimes you're like, oh, I wish you'd go faster, but like just turning laps is all that matters. So it doesn't matter.
Consistency.
Yeah. So there's 101 cars in the race. So to get the cars out in the parade lap, yeah, there was a lot. That's not even the biggest.
Work. How does the start work?
They roll them out. They start rolling them out to get everybody on track, and then when they feel like it's ready, they drop the green. It doesn't matter who's coming around; they can drop it anywhere. Which is funny because I've heard in the past that like there's like Class A cars, which is the fastest cars, that are like waiting for it, and the judges will be like, drop it on the slowest car just to fuck with those other guys. So he's out on the parade lap, and on the Buttonwillow on the backside, we get the call over the radio. Hey, car started sounding really bad and shut off. I'm off to the side of the track waiting for a tow. So he didn't make it back across start finish. So we didn't even get a lap in.
Wow.
This car comes in. We were just bumping the starter to hear it. And it's like, we're like, oh shit. So Tim makes the decision. He's like, fuck. He's like, he's assuming it's catastrophic.
Right.
So his thought is, we'll drop the oil pan because we're here. We rented the garage space, so we weren't just like in a spot, which was great to have because it was hot as shit out there. Get the car up, drop the oil pan, and fucking in the oil pan, it's not just the normal confetti. There's a full push rod.
Oh, wow.
There's a piece of a cam.
Very crispy.
There's a cam lobe in there, and there's like blown out bearings, or the cap on the bottom of the piston is in there. Oh, I didn't bring it in. I actually have the piston, and I saved the piston. And we're like, wow, that is just amazing damage. And
the bearings had just been done?
Yeah. So one of the guys was speculating that when he was torquing the nuts down on the cap on the bottom of the piston, he thinks he didn't fully torque it because he was using an electric torque wrench and not a click torque wrench. And he was stopping when it started going beep, 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 not when it goes beep. So he thinks he's like, I think I fucked up. And so he thinks that nut started to back off. And as soon as something gets loose, it's just a cascade of failure from there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's all about vibration.
Rotating shit, and there's no room for it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So Tim said, I want to take the oil pan down now so I can see what's wrong, because if I just put the car on the trailer, I'm not going to touch this thing for 3 months.
Yeah.
Are
there any more upcoming races?
We could try to do Sonoma in December, but it's tough because it's around the holidays and we're spread out, and we just don't want to deal with that. So we're going to push for Thunderhill in May.
Okay.
So we have like tons of time, sure. But so he's kind of half joking as he's pulling the thing down. He's like, hey, I was like, what if we just looked at Craigslist to see if there was, someone either selling a car with an engine or an engine. And I looked up, I was like, why don't you keep wrenching? I'm going to just pull my phone out. And I'm searching within 150 miles of our area.
What do you even search? Like,
I'm just going, so on Craigslist first, I searched by car. I searched for like Ford Falcon, or I did Ford Falcon 250 i6. And a handful popped up, but used car prices are insane. Like the rattiest Falcon, the guy wanted like $7,000. Like, it's insane. Really nice ones that were nice, but not like a good driver. People wanted like $25,000 for Falcons, which
yeah.
Like maybe if it was like a fastback Mustang, it's crazy. So then I switched to auto parts instead of cars. And sure enough, two things popped up. And one of them was a dude who just pulled a 250 i6 out of a 71 Maverick that had 42,000 miles on it because he swapped in a 302 or something. He swapped in a V8. So he just has this i6, and he was an hour and a half away in Fresno. So Tim, he's like, send me that listing. He texts him, he calls him, and he emails him. And he gets a text back in 30 minutes because he says, like, hey, I want your engine. Can I come pick it up? And there's like, yeah, okay. So they're like, fuck it. It's Tim and Ted. That's the father and son.
Mm-hmm.
They're like, we're going to go get this engine. We're like, okay. He's like, you and Jeff, because there's two Jeffs on the team, me and the other Jeff. He's like, you two pull everything out of the way that needs to be pulled out of the way. You get steering, cross memory, get all that shit out of the way. You guys have plenty of time because it's an hour and a half there, at least an hour and a half back. So they go. Jeff and I start wrenching, clear it all out, both getting our hands in there, which was cool because I'm the least accomplished wrencher on the team, but disassembling stuff is, I'm like, hey, do this. He's like, yep, go. So I had my elbows in the engine bay, pulling shit out. We got all out. We're just sitting there waiting. And sure enough, they pull up with a truck. They're like, there's the engine. So that was crazy. Engine gets there.
Like soup to nuts, like ready to go in, like carburetor to.
So we had to take parts. The bummer was that on the engine that we killed, we had an upgraded cam in there, which was like a hot rodded cam. So we weren't going to be using that. That engine has an integrated intake manifold on the head.
Oh,
so
wow.
we needed to use the intake manifold off the old engine so that we could run the Holly Sniper and stuff that was already on it. So we swapped heads to the engine we just got.
The top end was fine, obviously.
Yep, top end was fine. It was all bottom. Put the top end on, fully swap it, bolt it up, line it all up, get everything going, get it all hooked back together, and at 1 a.m. we fired it.
And what time did the race start?
I think race goes green at like first day, somewhere between 9 and 10 a.m.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm trying to remember the exact time.
You're not in contention.
Oh, God, no. We're just trying to, at this point, we would like to get one full day of racing.
Sure.
So car fires at 1 a.m. and it's running. It's mostly healthy, and it just feels like it's not running on all cylinders. But it feels like valves are sticking or something. But the engine was kind of just sitting there. So we're like, we all go, hey, it's put together. We'll wake up in the morning and we'll figure that part out then. So we all go to bed. We wake up in the next morning. We're sharing a garage space too with the team that's in first place. So we're in like second to last because there's one team alphabetically who also didn't do laps is below us. We're 100th out of 101. The team, we're sharing a garage with Eyesore, which is one of the best teams of all time in Lemon's history. We wake up, we're running it. We're like, it just doesn't, it's not firing on all cylinders, or the valves aren't lifting, or something's not going right. One of the guys is like, do you think it just needs an Italian tune-up? We're like, maybe. So Tim takes it to the far corner of Buttonwillow, like a skid pad, and he just starts revving it to $5,000. Black smoke coming out, and all of a sudden he felt it like, it's like shit cleared. It was like it coughed. It was like, whoa, and it was like, it's fucking fine.
Probably blew out the carbon from like
100%
seals or something.
And the Sniper started learning. It's adjusting air fuel. It's doing all this stuff. It's adjusting idle. We can adjust it a little bit to fine tune it. Car comes in, and the dude who blew the engine on the parade lap, we're like, you go out, you start. It was supposed to be your turn. You hop in. Jeff, me, you'll be next. So he goes out there, runs clean. I go out there. A full hour and a half stint, run clean. We get our other two drivers in. We ran all day.
What time did you guys start?
At the green flag. We started at the green. So if we woke up at 8, I think we started at 9 or something. I think the green flag dropped.
Does everybody, like, I have no idea how Lemons works. So, like, is there, like everybody goes to bed? Like, everybody?
Yeah. So most of the races are not a full 24 hours. The track goes cold at, like, day one, track goes cold at, like, 5 o'clock or something.
Got it. Okay.
And then Saturday night's awesome because it's a party. It's a lot of fun. Somebody was celebrating their 40th birthday, and they were doing so by towing a hot tub around the pits.
Brilliant.
And like throwing drinks at people. They were smoking meats. Like, it's all this crazy shit while we're in there, like, literally wrenching on this engine. And like people are coming up and giving us shots.
Okay.
So Lemons is
This gives me a greater perspective, which I really, really enjoy. Like,
oh, dude, it's
thought
awesome.
everybody just like thrashing, trying to like compete throughout the night. Like,
No.
this is my style of racing. Like,
No. There's only like maybe 2 races on the whole Lemons calendar that are actual 24-hour races.
Gotcha.
I've never done one, and they sound both awesome and awful at the same time. No, this one, track goes cold. Saturday night is party night. And then you wake up, track goes green again at like Sunday is a shorter day because, the track everybody has to get out of there. So I think it goes from like 9 with a target finish of 3:30.
Gotcha.
But we ran all day Sunday. We turned 101 laps.
Nice.
And we jumped. My goal was like, let's go from 100th to 80th. And we finished at like 77th.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
Yeah. And our garage mates won. They were first place overall. So I said it was a garage full of winners.
That is 100% something that I want to experience at some point. Like, I don't even hope to be competitive, but just to shit. Did I lose you?
No, I can still see you. You just started getting choppy though. Oh, it's like your lights went out.
Yeah, exactly. I had turned off my other display and I just turned it back on clearly.
Oh, now it's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're fine. You should experience it. Even if it's just hang out with a team to experience it, to the first one.
Yeah, I have a coworker that really wants to build a car and get active in the series. So I'll kind of consult with him over the winter and see if we can come up with a platform, a basis to come out there and have some fun.
I'm happy to answer questions. I can guide you at least in some certain right directions and go from there. But I'll be writing more about it. It was awesome. If anybody watching or listening, either one wants to check my Instagram, I put pictures of the car, the carnage, all that shit. I'll try to dump it into this video too, actually.
I saw it, but I tried not to pay too much attention to it because I really wanted to hear the story firsthand, hear it for the first time. So I saw some things and I knew that you had some issues, but I was just ignore that, keep scrolling.
No. That's good. That's good. So jumping to new car shit. Once I got back from Lemons, I had waiting for me the Wrangler 392. It's a good kind of stupid.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
So before you get into it, I knew you had it and it was on my radar, but just this afternoon, I came home from work early and I saw a new Wrangler Rubicon pull up and park across the street from me. And I thought they were going to the new gym, new fashionable gym that's across the street. But it turns out it was the brother of one of my neighbors who lives on my floor. And I'm in downtown Long Beach, so it's anything that makes any kind of noise, I jump up and I run to the window and I check it out and see what it is. But I didn't hear him pull up. I just happened to be sitting at my desk and I saw him. I was like, it's a really clean Rubicon. And my neighbor Matt, who it turns out this was his brother, but Matt has a JK that's lifted, got crazy wheels, bumpers, rock sliders, all that stuff. And it turns out this is his brother, and his brother just came to one up him. And I just thought it was a Rubicon. I'm like, yeah, it's clean truck. All right, that's nice. It's brand new, clearly. It's black and all shiny. And I had moved away. I was doing something else, and I hear this thing fire up. And I ran to the window and I was just what was that? I'm looking around and I'm like, there's nothing cool. There's nothing that sounds like a badass V8 here. And then I look and the guy's in the Jeep and he presses the brakes and I'm like, what? And I look down at my buddy Matt, my neighbor. I'm like, yo, is that a 392? He was just yeah, that's my brother. He had to one up me. He was just he had to show me up. He was that thing's badass. And he took off and I fell in love with it. It's the coolest thing ever. That sound combined with that look. And I think his truck had 35s and wheels, but it was just so badass.
Yes.
I'm I keep looking back, hoping it'll be there again. But
yeah,
I can't wait to hear about your experience.
It's the one I had was it was Jeep has a really good blue. They're all Rubicons. Every 392s are Rubicon. They're all 4-doors. They're all automatics, which is fine. The 8-speed is fine.
8-speed, yeah.
Yep. 470 horse. There's a button to turn. There's a performance exhaust. So if you turn it off, it's sort of quiet when you start it off. But the best part is if you press the button, if you have the button on and turn the truck off, it always defaults to whatever you left it in. So if you just press it once, it'll stay on forever. So when you first fire it up, blah, 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 and it's so mean.
Exactly what I experienced. Like, when he pulled up, he must have had it in quiet mode, but then like flipped it. Because when he started it, it was just obnoxious. Like I ran to the window, like expecting to see like a Hellcat. Like
it has a super obnoxious, choppy idle. Like your boy Zach would be like, "Yo, that's got some good shot." It's like blah blah. Because I took it to Starbucks the other day, and I'm in there, and I'm like, I turned it off. I turned the exhaust off because I'm like, everybody's gonna hate me right here. I'm just sitting here like blah 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 blah. I was like, this is too much for Starbucks, or not. Back on. Yeah, it was. It's ridiculous. It's great. I had to drive to and from LA the other day to get the second session for my arm tattoo in downtown LA, and just driving back, you're driving it not like a Wrangler, because you can point and shoot for passing like you would in like muscle cars or sports cars. So you're like whoop, 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 and it makes zero sense.
Is it all-wheel drive, or is it?
It's there's no rear-wheel drive in this one. It's 4 auto, 4 high, or 4 low.
Is it like SRT8 Jeep like drivetrain?
No, it's not.
Isn't it engineered by SRT gang as opposed to?
I think SRT's kind of dead.
Right.
So it's more just like the whole team now knows how to work with 392s. Like, hey, regular guy, just throw that shit in there.
Right.
It's such a last gasp for Stellantis with the 392 shit, where they're like, hey, we do have a plug-in hybrid now too. It's like, bro, you guys really need to start getting your shit electric because you're so far behind everybody else. But it is so stupid and so awesome. I love it.
But what are like street manners? Like, I mean, I know it's a Rubicon, so it's capable off-road, but like I hear that like it's also like really composed on the street compared to other Wranglers.
I mean, it's honestly so a lot of people complain about Wrangler steering, and I get it because it is, compared to everything else, pretty sloppy. But as someone who daily drives a 91 Montero, I have no issues with Wrangler steering at all. Like I get in and like, ooh, this is nice and tight. Jumping from my truck. And the Wrangler 392, it's funny because I asked if they slowed down the steering because that would seem smarter to me. And they're like, no, apparently they're like, we asked, and apparently it has like a tighter box taken out of, I don't want to, like one of the diesels or something like that. Like I expected it to have a slower steering box, and they're like, no, it is a faster one over the regular V6. I'm like, it doesn't feel like it, but it could be like the added heft of the engine coupled with the suspension lean. I was like, it felt like they slowed it down, which I would think would be smarter to do with that vehicle. You can just bomb, and it doesn't make sense that you're in a Jeep, and it's absolutely wild. Now, getting to something completely different with crazy power, I want to know, you posted something a while back of a Ferrari 599, and it wasn't just any 599. It was Lewis Hamilton's 599. What the hell were you doing with that?
So back when I worked for, and I guess it's better since we've already outed the owner, and I mean that's the story. We're definitely not bearing the lead here. I guess since we've made the owner of the vehicle obvious, I should just not mention who I worked for or where I worked in. But back when I worked for a European tuner in LA, we sold Novatec, Brabus, Tecart, like all the European tuner brands in addition to our own wheels. We had the opportunity to customize a car for Lewis Hamilton, but at the time we didn't know it was Lewis Hamilton. This Ferrari 599 Aperto, one of 80, showed up in this crazy like metallic red, like dark metallic, like candy apple red color with like red Alcantara interior and like all gloss black accents, and parts just started showing up, like, and they were all addressed to Carl Davidson, and like they were like shipped from the UK, shipped from Canada, shipped from Italy, and it was just like, I was putting the pieces together literally, like I'm just like, okay, well, I don't know who this is for, but we'll just put this with all the other parts addressed to this individual. And yeah, like stuff was shipping from like an agency. So I started like Googling stuff and like putting it together. And I was just like, oh, I think this is Lewis Hamilton's car. Like, like my boss, like nobody involved with the project could speak on it. They're just like, listen, we're going to get a bunch of stuff and we're gonna put it on this car and we're gonna do some other stuff and like, we're gonna add some personal touches and some individual stuff, but we can't really talk about it. And that was because at the time, this must have been 2012, 2013. At the time, Lewis was driving for McLaren.
Mm-hmm.
And it would have been a huge PR guffaw for Lewis to be seen driving a Ferrari. So, first of all, I feel like it was a crazy, almost near scandal for him to be allowed to purchase. Like, I'm curious about how that transaction went down, because it seems crazy that Ferrari would sell a competing Formula One driver a car that was limited to 80 units.
Yeah.
Like, that was always like intriguing to me, but at the same time, like, it's like, I always wonder, like, was there like, a deal in the works to send him to Ferrari? And like, this was like, kind of like, it's just an endorsement or encouragement. Right. Like, it was a weird time. And the fact that we couldn't talk about it, like, made it so much more interesting to me. But like, anyway, like, he was selected, like, you had to jump through hoops as a Ferrari collector to be allocated one of these cars. So for him to have one, like, it was just wild to me and like everybody involved. And that's why we weren't allowed to talk about it. But anyway, we did like a whole host of modifications, like exhaust, Novitec lowering kit, like coilovers with nose lift. This car is as rare as they come for the time, one of 80. Like, now everything is one of one, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Each one of these cars is individually spec'd to, their owner's taste. And his was the sickest that I saw by far. Like, Ferrari Beverly Hills had one that was like white and brown that like sat on the floor for like 2 years. And like, these cars were
white with a brown interior.
I want to say it was like metallic white it was like a weird color. It was like almost like an almond, like a cream or a beige with like a brown interior. It was definitely off-white. Like, it was like, I thought it was a cool spec, but I think it was ahead of its time. Like,
it sounds kind of cool.
Like it sounds sick, and it was sick, but like, that car sat for a while because nobody was willing to take a chance on it. Like, I'm curious about that car too. Who spec'd that and like how and why? But anyhow, like, we built this car, and it was like everything that we did, we tried to basically hide. Like, no add-ons, just like suspension to lower the car, wheels that increase performance based on weight and like width. So we installed a stereo system because I know the factory stereo system was trash in those cars, and like, it was like his California Cruiser, but he could never be seen in it. And it was just,
right.
It was always like, we'd drop the car off at the valet of the restaurant next to us, and he would like show up like days later and pick it up, and it would always be like super incognito. There was never ever any talk about it. There was never any like presentation, no photos with the car. In fact,
wow.
like some YouTuber like posted a video at like the infancy of YouTube did, and he came, and one of the sales guys in the showroom was just like, yeah, it's Lewis Hamilton's car. Like, we caught him on camera. Like, just that little blurb was enough to like legitimize his video. But he got shut down. The video got removed. And I don't know if we got in trouble necessarily, but it definitely like challenged that relationship. But he did a few cars at the time. Then he was dating Nicole Scherzinger.
Oh yeah.
It's like
Scherzinger. Nicole Worcester sauce.
But anyway, like, we did like a Maserati for her, and like, I delivered that to her house, and like, it was a really cool time period to be customizing cars, because people were spending money like crazy, and like, it was almost incognito. Like, people didn't really want to be seen in their cars. Like, I feel like around the same time, like, Lewis was seen driving Justin Bieber's LaFerrari. Like, it was like, and that was like a huge scandal, but like, it was a weird time, man, to work building cars for celebrities in Beverly Hills. Like,
Yeah,
It
I mean,
was wild.
he must have been close to something with Ferrari if he was doing all that, and then all of a sudden Mercedes was like, "Hey, here's all the money in the world.
Right. Yeah.
Get to work with Toto Wolff. We're going to win everything, whatever you want.
Yeah.
We'll tell your number twos to do whatever the hell you want." So that's crazy. That's crazy.
At the same time, like we would secure cars for him while he was in town. So like we would get him like cars from, and even his dad. Like when his dad was in town, like we would get him like BMW 760s. We would get Lewis like Rolls drop heads.
Do you when you get them? Do you get them
conspicuous? So conspicuous when he's supposed to be so inconspicuous
right.
at the same time. Just
be like, bro, do you want to get a Camry?
Yeah.
When you get those cars, do you get them from dealerships, customers, private owners?
Typically from corporate through like the local dealer.
Okay.
Like it would just be like, hey, so and so's in town, wants a car, like, you know.
Toss a plate on it, get it over.
They wouldn't like the manufacturers wouldn't think twice about it. Like, sure.
Yeah, of course.
If he happens to be seen in our car, that's huge for us.
Huge. Absolutely. I'm going to grab another seltzer as we get ready to pull up.
I'm going to grab another drink, Wes.
Our Twitter questions.
All right. So that was a super interesting build because I was so excited for it and I was such a fan of Lewis, but at the same time, like couldn't talk about it with anybody and, you know, like had to play it cool and like, you know, rarely saw him. Like he did come in a few times to like pick up cars, like I said and stuff, but never that car. But it was just cool, man, because like he wasn't anywhere near the level of success that he is now. So it was just like, you know, he was almost an underdog. I think he had maybe one championship at that point, but it was cool. And like, you know, it was cool knowing and being involved, but not being able to talk about it. Like,
like something secret, something special.
Yeah. It felt like some, you know, James Bond shit.
Yeah, no, I get it for sure.
We were here.
I get it. Yeah, 100%. So we're bringing back something since we're bringing back the podcast. I used to post, say, give me your questions on Twitter. I used to do it on Facebook as well, but I don't give a shit about Facebook anymore. I'm not even on there. So I posted, I said, hey, if you want to give us questions for episode 303, ask them. And we got some. So we're going to go through these. First question from Mega Francois at Francois BDSP. You can pick the Volkswagen Group's next limited run reboot of 100 cars, like the new Countach. What are you rebooting in 2022, and why is it the Volkswagen thing?
That's brilliant. Like, I wouldn't disagree with that. Like, a new thing would be awesome, but it would also be regulated to death where all of the fun and, like, unique elements of the original thing would be lost. Like, you just have an ugly, weird, I don't know, crossover, almost like mini truck. Like,
I would do. I would take the e-tron GT platform, and body it as a coupe, and make an Audi Sport Quattro EV, and just build 100 of them, and boom, you'd sell every single one in a heartbeat. And I'd even offer 10 of them in like Group B, black, white, and yellow livery.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
I won't disagree with that either. That would be rad. Like I don't have the storied history or like, you know, like infatuation with Audi brands, but I would do something similar.
Yeah.
I want to say like 15 years ago, Lamborghini. Well, Audi.
Yeah.
Lamborghini teased an updated Miura concept.
Yeah.
I would do a 4-wheel dual motor electric, like e-tron powertrain in a Miura as opposed to a Countach. Like, I think the Miura is so much sexier, and like, you know, especially if you use that platform, the Taycan like e-tron platform, like it's low slung, it's sexy. Like you could definitely make like a dope coupe.
Yes.
Out of that platform.
Yes, I agree, 100%. Each brand in the Volkswagen Group should use that platform to make one of their like super coupes, and we're onto something here.
Now that I think about what I'd really like to see is, do you remember the Lamborghini S-Toque?
Yeah.
Concept, the 4-door.
When you said Lamborghini, that was the first one that popped in my head. Yeah.
Yeah, like maybe that over the Miura actually. Like that was like the sexiest car that Audi Group, you know, VW.
They should have made that like or made it into like instead of the Stoke name, even though it's 2 doors instead of 4, blah, 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 call it the Espada, like make a modern Espada. And I get an Urus press car tomorrow too.
Oh, yeah?
Just for the weekend though. Another question. Joel Strickland at Joel Strick Photo. What Aussie beer shall I send you to drink while recording future episodes? I don't know, but I'm assuming anything from Victoria, VB. I don't know a lot about Australian beer as much as I should. I just know that nobody fucking drinks Foster's and hasn't in decades. Austin Tyler Rogers, Austin Tyler, who I believe is a Jeopardy champion. I think he won on Jeopardy.
Really?
Yeah, he's also he's written for Jalopnik. He's a super car guy. He's a really nice guy. Fun guy to follow on Twitter, Austin. Will the rolling coal set box in charging Lightnings the way they do with Teslas? Will they ice them out? That'd be funny to see because the Lightning, if they got really mad, could push those trucks out of the way.
Like literally just tow them, like hook them up, tow them out of the way, push them out of the way, whatever.
I would pay so much money to see that. I would pay an amount of money to see that would challenge my marriage. My wife would be like, "What did you do?" Like, no, you don't understand.
That is a brilliant question from a clear genius.
Mm-hmm. Yes, exactly. Pasha Nasrat at that dude Pasha. He wrote, "Fuck, marry, kill. Brewery, Four Sons, and Bottle Logic." So this is a beer question. So I'll take this one. I will marry Four Sons because they're near and dear to my heart. I'll kill Bottle Logic because who gives a shit? And I guess I'll fuck Brewery because they have some crazy shit and they'll be crazy in bed. So one day I'll explain to you all of what I just said, what that means. At Birdie Redfern, hypothetically speaking, work brings you and the family to live in the UK. Where would you like to live and what cars not available in the USA would you buy? If you had to go to the UK to live and work, what would you buy? Where would you live?
I can't say where I would live because I don't know that much about the geography and the neighborhoods of the UK, but I would like to live somewhere that would allow me to experience the gamut of their roads, A, B, and C roads. And, they've got like tight twisties and, country 2 lanes, but I would want the car that has been unobtainium for us. And that's like I want to say C6 RS6.
Oh, okay.
That was the twin turbo V10 RS6 Avant. Like we never had anything close to that. V10 twin turbo wide body. I'm pretty sure it's C6. It could be C5, but like 3 generations ago.
No, I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's a good answer.
I just found out recently that those were twin turbo V10s. Like we had the S6 and the S8 here, like over a decade ago.
We had an RS6 sedan.
Detuned.
Yeah,
but yeah, we never had that twin turbo V10.
We never had the wagon one because we had the RS6 sedan, like you said, it was Gallardo motor, basically. So I wouldn't know where I'd go either. With my family, I would assume I'd want to live in a suburb of London, where a single man like you, I'd want to live in the heart of London, or just be drunk in Ireland. I don't really know.
The cars that I want are taxed out of existence in downtown London, like the city.
Yeah, true.
I was in London last 3 years ago, and I saw RS6s, I saw Lambos, I saw Ferraris, and everything. But those, you have to be a billionaire to even drive those cars.
Well, it's like Manhattan. Yeah. But I would want the first one I would want is it's a version of the Defender that, we didn't get a lot of Defenders here, but there's a truck called the Defender 130, which is like a double cab pickup truck. So it's the front half's like a 110 and then the back half. I was in one once in Scotland and I was on an Aston Martin trip. Well, actually, everybody listening to this podcast knows about the Scotland. That's like the most infamous episode of this fucking podcast. So on that trip, I rode in a Defender 130 after driving Aston Martins through what looked like Skyfall. And I was like, this is the coolest vehicle ever. And they're like, what the fuck are you talking about? I'm like, no. This is it, right? It was green. It was perfect. And I just had the other one in my head, and I cannot remember what it was. It was the Defender 130. And then I don't remember what the other vehicle was because the Defender 130 messes with my head. It was something much more British.
You drive too much dope shit. You can't remember.
Yeah. So I'll stick with the 130 because someday I will bring one, and I know people who are bringing them into the country. I just cannot afford them, but I do not know where I would live. All right, Team Ruby Stone Love at Midnight Drifto. This guy wrote, looks around. Really? I'm gonna have to be that guy? Damn it! Fine. How's the Wombat? It still exists. It is still at the back parking lot of a shop down the street from me, and I've been assured that any day now, work will commence. I'm going to go in there and be like, hey, can we get an honest timeline of when you think this might happen? But
project car life is rough, man, especially in the age of COVID, man. Like I'm feeling it too. Like I've got projects for friends / customers. I've got my own projects that are just lying in wait, and like, you know, unless you're spending like 6 figures and just fucking pouring out money, like shops are like, yo, like, we'll get to it when we get to it.
Yes. Yeah, it's tough, man.
There's plenty of guys that are doing that are shelling out cash and just, you know, I want my shit tomorrow.
Yeah, I cannot do that. So that's the reason why, but it's been a very long time. JW at JVW 1983. What do you envision the new Integra to be? A 5-door liftback, and I'm fine with that. I don't give a shit. I honestly think Acura could have taken the ILX on whatever updated chassis it needed. ILX was their like entry level. It was like their fancy Civic.
But it's no more.
No, I think it's technically dead now, but only like as of like a few years ago. Okay. But it was their cheapest Acura product. It was basically a fancy Civic. They could have taken that, given it sportier Acura shit, and instead of calling it the ILX, called it the Integra, and that would have been totally fine. Like made it like a luxury Civic Sport because that 1.5 turbo is a good motor. So the new Integra if it's a 4-door lift, because I know the rear is not a door. People get hung up on that. I don't care. I'll call it a 4-door, 5-door, whatever you want to call it. 4 doors with a rear hatch. I'm fine with that. The original Integra had an option for that. People are losing their shit about it. I'm fine with it. Guys, be happy. It's not a fucking crossover. You know, like it's not a lower than the RDX. And the RDX is good too. So that's where I'm at on that.
I was flooded with Acuras all last weekend with the Long Beach Grand Prix in town. You know, they were the title sponsor. It was the Acura Grand Prix of Long Beach. And I just could not believe how many Acuras were surrounding downtown Long Beach all of last weekend, like starting like Wednesday through Tuesday of this week. And they have some really attractive cars, man. I have no doubt that this thing will be attractive. I have no idea what to expect. I don't know if it's going to be like a rebodied, like sexier CTR, Civic Type R, or if it's something more pedestrian than that. But like the teaser photos, like make it look cool and sexy. And it's like, you know, they've been in the last 2 years, I'd say, like down a path of sexiness. And I'm here for it. Like
I'm going to wait till
5 years ago, there's not an Acura that I would drive. Now I feel like I'd jump in any one of them. Like they were all over the track, all over the neighborhood, like every single one that I saw. I'm sure they were like all like sport model, like fully optioned, like the sexiest version possible. But still, I didn't see anything that was like, oh no, I won't drive that.
No, they have nothing like that in the lineup. You're totally right. Our friend Bradley Brownell, Concept BC Brownell. What are you driving to Radwood and Autopia 2099, which I need to talk about Autopia 29 in an upcoming show. I will quickly mention what Bradley is talking about. For those of you not aware, Bradley, myself, and a handful of other people are creating an electric, it's more than a car show happening in December. Go to autopia2099.com for more information. I don't want to say it's like Radwood because it's different, but it is like it's like lifestyle around electric vehicles. It's going to be in LA in December.
Opposite of Radwood.
It's not. Yeah, it's wider open. It's a greater scope because it's not specific to certain years. So it's not just cars. You know, we're thinking e-bikes, mobility, all kinds of stuff. Retro future theme too. We're gonna have a lot of fun with it. Go buy tickets. Come see us in December. Right now, COVID protocols have us being fine because half the show's outdoors. We'll have food and drinks and all kinds of fun stuff, and it'd be fun to see people in a safe, socially distanced way, or whatever, whatever works. But to Radwood, I will be driving. I'm going to drive one of my cars, and I'm going to find someone else to drive the other one. I want to take my Jag and my Montero. So,
same answer.
Yeah, there you go. For Autopia,
I bring my Mustang. I hope that thing is back on the road, but definitely the Tahoe will be there.
Yeah, for sure. And for Autopia, I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but I'd like to maybe borrow a Super 73 or something like that. I'm not sure. Greg Katchadurian, our news guy at Greg C. Catch. How big has the backlog of – this is like a deep cut right here for you, Ron. How big has the backlog of comments gotten on your Rugged Ridge Jeep video since episode 300? That was a video I did before Trump was a real candidate. He was joking about running, and this was a marine-themed Jeep, modified Jeep from Rugged Ridge. The Jeep was cool, and I made a throwaway joke in the video where I said, I hope no one thinks I'm a Trump vote in this. And I didn't edit the video for a few months, and by the time I edited it, he was a serious candidate then. And the comments kept going for years, like liberal fag. I hate to use that word. I'm sorry, but this is what the commenter said. The F word, I'll say. I'm trying to use better words personally, so I don't want to use that word. There's a lot of words I don't use. So people would you don't context clues. What goes with liberal? Public serving. I know the answer. So there's some really bad. Some people are even like, I would love to exercise my Second Amendment right against you. For real. I was like, wow. Because I made a throwaway joke, but that's the internet for you. So those comments went on for a very long time. But there's a follow-up comment below this tweet question where they said, don't forget Tremor video comments too. So the Rugged Ridge Jeep video comments have kind of stopped. I haven't seen one in a long time. However,
are you tuned in? Do you check, or do you have notifications set up?
When I see the dashboard on YouTube, you always see like the thing that when you click on the comments tab, it's comments that you haven't replied to or what shows up. That's the default. So you see the most recent comments. Because I'm still a relatively smaller channel, like I still check that shit. Like someone like Doug or Matt, like they'll randomly check. It's not like because there's so many more comments. They're just It's not as big a deal. And at that point, they become self-policing to a degree. So I recently did a video on the Ford F-250 Tremor, and I just don't get it. I think it's too big of a truck for off-roading. I think there are better choices. If you need to tow, just don't get the Tremor package. If you want to go off-road, get the Raptor. In the video, I was like, I don't feel like you need this truck. Basically, the entire state of Texas must have found this video because the comments are just like, and apparently everybody in that video is a libertarian ranch owner who owns 1,000 acres and needs an off-road F-250 to check on their sheep and tow their show horses to the track. So those comments those are still coming in. And they're pretty amazing. So the Tremor video has replaced the Rugged Ridge video. So There you go.
I probably would have agreed that like there's absolutely no need for any sort of F-250 with any sort of off-road package. But recently I borrowed a truck from work, and it was an F-250 with like a 10-inch lift and like 38s. And I just had to go pick up tires. I just went to Falcon, like, I don't know where they're at, Fontana, like it's like 50 miles east. And I was just like, I was dreading it. I was just like, I don't have anything to take all these tires. Like can I borrow a truck from work? And like, yeah, everybody's like, yeah, F-250, it's here. It's so tall. Yeah. It's lifted, like, it's got like the power steps. So like, it's easy to get into, but like the thing is so tall. It's easily 8-10-inch lift. And, you're not eye level with 18-wheeler, like semi-drivers.
You're close.
But like, like box vans and like, like Kodiaks and like, I call them city semis or city trucks. Like, you're eye level with those dudes. And you're way up there, and like, it's a vantage point that I'm not used to. So it's like, I can see the whole world from here. Like, the truck drove great. It was diesel, and it was like, plenty of torque, plenty of power, and like 10-speed transmission. You get to like 30 miles an hour and you're in fifth gear. And like, I never thought that I would have a need for anything like that, or even like a desire. but like I really didn't want to get out of it. Like I drove it for just a day and a half, and I was just like, damn. Like I was trying to think of excuses to keep it, and I was just I knew I had to take it back, but I was just like, this thing is actually brilliant. Like super comfortable, easy to drive, brakes great, and you just like you have this commanding like road view. Like I get it now. Like I have no need for it. I'm definitely not going to spend my own money on it, but like I get what middle America loves about these.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Lifted diesel trucks. But
yeah.
I'm also not down with rolling coal and just like being an asshole and like, polluting unnecessarily. Like,
yeah, and anybody who actually enjoys performance in a diesel vehicle knows that rolling coal is a waste of performance. When you talk to those people, it's really refreshing to hear a lot of these diesel people will be like, no, it's the dumbest shit on the planet.
Right.
But yeah, Coyote Thugly at Coyote Thugly. Saab, Pontiac, or Saturn, best defunct brand. Over the history of them, I'd say for me personally, I'm most entertained by Pontiac.
Of course. Yeah.
But if I had to bring one of those three back to the modern age now, the one that makes most sense is probably either Saab or Saturn as a purely EV brand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want Pontiac to be an EV brand.
Yeah.
Saturn, it's funny, Saab and Saturn just missed the boat because either one of those could have gone full quirky EV, and they would have been perfect for it. Like Saturn with its lightweight body panels, Saab with its just general Swedishness.
Right.
So, yeah.
I agree with you. I think if you were to revive any brand, it would probably be Saab. Like it would be most aligned with like current manufacturers, like capabilities, technology, market taste, but harkening back to the history of any of those brands, it'd have to be Pontiac. I mean,
yeah. I mean, if
Trans Ams,
Firebirds,
GTOs,
GTOs,
like close to my heart.
Tons of shit. Okay, the Straight Pipes at Straight Pipers. Everyone knows the Straight Pipes. They're a huge channel. They wrote Prowler or SSR, which is a loaded question because they like the Prowler. However, they're wrong because Prowler is a fucking joke. I'm sorry. That's aggressive. It is like it's wearing a dress that it cannot pull off. If that makes any sense. They clearly built it, and then someone said, no, you're not putting that engine in there. And they were like, wait, what? So you go SSR, even though my real answer would be both of them can be melted down, and I don't give a shit. I would feel no pain if neither of those cars ever existed. Like, I don't care at all.
I agree. I think the SSR is the silliest vehicle ever made because it's a truck based on an SUV chassis that can't haul, that only seats two. It's not that fast. Like, it's the stupidest thing ever. Like, it's just like, it was a lot of money for the time, like compared to, say, just a regular cab, short bed, Silverado with a V8.
Yeah.
Like, if you wanted a truck that performed, like, it was way, like, half the price to buy just a stripper, Silverado. But it was cool and sexy. Like, I don't know, like folding hardtop, like I don't need that. Like, it was the answer to every question unanswered, like every question unasked, excuse me. Like, it was the silliest thing ever for a lot of money. Like, it was just like way over engineered.
Yes.
The later trucks were cool, and I should say trucks.
Right.
But the later ones were kind of cool because they had 6-liter LSs. So they had like 400 horsepower and like they were kind of quick, but like earlier ones were trash. But as bad as they were better than any Prowler. Like,
yeah. There's still a V8.
Transaxle, no trunk space. Like, it was like the worst car ever.
It's so stupid. Like, I do not get it.
Take it anywhere. Like, it wasn't fast. It wasn't that cool looking. Like, looked cool to like a 6-year-old.
Today, if someone walked up to me and said, you can either have that turbo PT Cruiser or that Prowler, I'm taking the PT Cruiser because I can do more shit with it.
I honestly can't think of more than 2 cars that I would like take over a Prowler.
You would take the Prowler.
I said that wrong.
Yeah, you would take the Prowler.
I can't think more than, exactly.
Right. I do not get them at all. I'm whatever.
Today I just learned that there was a Howler concept from like 1999 or 2000, and it was V8 powered, but it had a Jeep V8. So it was a smaller block. It was smaller than the Hemi of the era that was in like the 5.9 Grand Cherokees. Like I guess those were too wide. Like all of the Ram and Jeep V8s of the era were too wide to fit. But it was the concept that had like a pickup box, like a covered pickup bed, because the mandate was that it fit two sets of golf clubs.
Of course.
That was like the standard of the 90s. It's just like, it's not a real GT unless it has two sets of golf clubs.
Yeah.
But
that's stupid.
Yeah, but it had like a solid rear axle, or at least it didn't have a transaxle, so it had a V8, it had like, room for two sets of golf clubs, and it had like a square box, almost like a tea bucket, but like it was V8 powered. It was cool, but like they never made it. I just learned of that today. So
cool. Interesting. I don't know that one.
That would have changed my mind. Like if they had come to market with that, like I definitely would have chosen that over the SSR. But
yeah, for sure. No question. Thomas Hundle at Thomas Hundle. How would you fix Infinity? Tough question. So I would actually. Obviously, they're paying attention to what Nissan is doing because it's the same family. Nissan is taking steps to fix their brand right now, and they're actually doing a really good job because, one, they're ditching CVTs and going back to automatics. They're doing really nice interiors right now from the Sentra on up to the Pathfinder. They're reinvigorating some of their older nameplates. We're finally getting a new Z. The new Frontier is great. New Pathfinder, like I said, is good. All that stuff. So if Infinity can do that and then just take it a step above, because they're the luxury brand, maybe add a few differentiated engines to separate the brands a little bit too, like with Ford and Lincoln, what they did, that's probably the best way to do it. So they're probably waiting to see or to just follow Nissan's lead. But the QX60 is a great starting point design-wise. The new QX60 looks good. The QX55 is a huge swing and a miss for me. They did this huge fanfare with it, and it's almost felt like you knew the PR people were like, hey, just wait, QX60's coming, please hang in there. The QX60's coming, so that'll be good. I don't know, man. I think Johan Denishin really fucked Infinity, so that's a story.
Can you really blame him? Like, it's been so many years. Like, he's been at Cadillac since then. Like, it was so many years ago that he was there.
No, he kicked Cadillac in the dick too.
Sure.
Yeah.
I think they're both recovering from his reign, but I don't know. My answer for Infinity, the best thing for Infinity is for Infinity to disappear. Like I just don't think there's room for mid luxury anymore. It's like either you're at $100,000 or you're at $40,000. Like
yeah. But we're just talking about Acura, man. Acura's doing good shit. They but they can do that.
If they were branded Honda, I feel like they would still sell. Like I'm saying, like the aspirational luxury brands. Like I just feel like they're missing the mark. It's like they're just marking up good product, but they're marking them up to an unobtainable point. Like where they're pricing themselves out of the market, because all cars are pretty good now.
Yeah. Oh, for sure.
It's not like Hondas are strippers like they were, 30 years ago, where you have crank windows and, manual everything and no AC. Like everything is good now. So it's like
your Civic's great.
It's either good or it's incredible and it's expensive. So I just feel like there's less of that middle ground now, and like manufacturers are really like stressing themselves and wrangling to figure out where those mid-level luxury brands really belong. And there's just, the market just doesn't sustain like every level of luxury anymore.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That's fair. I'm going to give them a little bit more of a chance to see if they follow what the Nissan side of the family does, and if they pick up the pace to match that, and if they don't and they miss the boat, and then that's kind of it. But that was it for the Twitter stuff.
That's impressive.
I'm going to skip our
I'm not on Twitter, so I have no idea what goes on in that sphere. But
there's some good questions. I think people were excited to see the "Hey, any podcast questions?" question go out on Twitter. So there's that. But that's basically it. We don't need to do the personal car news this week, 'cause there's nothing that exciting going on with our shit. So why don't you take a minute to, like we do at the end of the show, plug your shit and tell everybody where they can find you.
You can always find me on Instagram. I'm not on Twitter. I mean, I think I have a Twitter, but again, like I don't even know what it is.
Instagram's more fun.
I'm not there. 777 style on Instagram, and that's also my website, which I swear one of these days I'm going to start to update and just kind of give some industry insights and updates on the stuff that I'm working on. But it's 777style.com.
Perfect. I'm at Hooniverse Jeff on Instagram and Twitter. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Like I said, trying to hit 50,000 subscribers, not G's.
Really?
That much.
Pick me up.
Yeah, no. Make like $300 a month from YouTube or some shit like that. Make enough to keep the website up and running. Subscribe to the channel. I think you're supposed to hit the bell, but I've never literally said that in a video because I think that gives you notifications, but I don't. You do you. Go to blipshift.com/Hooniverse to buy shirts and stickers, which is something I should start plugging like a real YouTuber. And then I don't know if you're supposed to rate.
Myself.
What's that?
It's something I should buy into myself. Like, I don't have any.
Yeah. We are about to come out with some new shirts, so wait till then. Keep an eye out in October for some new designs. And then I'm actually working on a design for the Lemons fiasco because I forgot to mention a crucial part of it, which was that the person we bought the engine from was a roadie for Pitbull. So on
Mr. International, Mr. 305?
Mr. Worldwide. So I wrote on the side of the car. I wrote on the hood scoop, I wrote Dale. And then Tony Angelo on Instagram wrote, "Doing it for Dale," which gave me a t-shirt idea. So stay tuned for that, which we're going to work.
LA, do it for Dale.
Well, I'm trying to look for something that rhymes well with, raise hell, praise Dale. So I need something in the beginning half of that phrase that works into that phrase. So I might reach out and make the whole thing Spanish. I'm not 100% sure yet. If you have ideas, anybody out there, hit me up on Instagram or Twitter, whatever. Email me, Jeff at Hooniverse.
Sounds like a Twitter call.
Yeah, right. Raising hell, praise Dale. Yeah. So I don't know. So we're still mind fucking that shirt into existence, and it hasn't happened yet. So stay tuned on that. But that is episode 303. We'll see all you next week. I'm going to hit stop record on this.